how you came through it.
Okay, I shared at the beginning of the program. It's never an easy story to tell, but I won't ever stop telling it as long as I need to. My husband and I actually met some friends at the Mandalay Bay in the same tower where the gunman actually had his room to celebrate one of my friend's daughter's 21st birthday. And so we met there, and then we all walked over to the venue together. And the night was actually almost coming to an end when Jason Aldean was on, and the gunman opened fire. I think a lot of us knew right away what was happening, and so we hit the ground, but my husband and so many other concert goers just stayed on stage thinking it was part of the event, thinking there was fireworks going off, until I think everyone saw the Jason Aldean run off stage, and immediately knew. So my husband hit the ground and crawled on top of me to cover me, and most of us who were there were just so paralyzed with fear. We just wanted to stay on the ground and cover our heads. And he said to us, I know you're afraid, but we can't stay here. So on the count of 3, we're going to get up and we're going to run. And so he counted to 3, and we got up and we ran. And we all headed in the direction of where we came in from, but it was completely closed down. There were so many people that you couldn't get out. So we had to turn around and run right back into the fire, where the fire was coming from, bullets. I froze, and I ended up running under bleachers to hide because I didn't know what to do. And my friends were like, "What do we do?" So my husband's like, "No matter what happens, you guys have to keep going. I'll go grab Sandy." And so he grabbed me. He said, "I know you're afraid, but we have to get out of here." So many other people had tried to find ways out. That a group of people had actually lifted up a fence where enough to make a hole for a bunch of us to run under and run through. And we did. We found our way out through that hole in the fence until we ran to a neighboring hotel. And we stayed there. My husband left to go help some people who had been shot. And once he had helped a few people, he came back to grab me, and he's like, "We got to keep moving." There was just so much going on that people started saying that there was active shooters in the hotel we were at. And so we ran to the next hotel until we stayed there, and everything just shut down. And we finally said, we have to keep moving, and we ran out until the driver passing by stopped and saw that we needed help and offered to give us a ride home. And we made it home.
Thank God.
We're very fortunate that we get to be here to share our story, because there's so many people who don't.
You went on to do AB 291.
Yes.
Can you tell us about it?
Yes, a lot of people don't know. I was already elected during the Route 91 Harvest Festival, and I was a very active proponent of gun violence prevention. I campaigned on question 1 in 2016, which was universal background checks here, but I went completely silent after. There was only a couple of people who knew, our Speaker of the House and another colleague who knew that I had actually been there, because it was a very traumatic situation. I wasn't ready to speak about it. Then the shooting in Texas happened, and 26 more people died, and I still didn't have the courage to come out and share my story until Parkland happened. And I knew that it was so difficult for me to experience what I went through that I couldn't fathom the thought of students, these teenagers, having to share the same experience that I did. And that's when it came out, and I was just like, I'm in a unique position to do something about this. And so I decided to work on a bill to prevent gun violence in Nevada. We introduced Assembly Bill 291, which it started as a very comprehensive omnibus bill, and we passed a bill that I'm very proud of. We banned bump stocks, but not just bump stocks. We took it a step further than the federal language, because we knew that gun manufacturers are going to get smart, and they're going to create future technology that functions exactly the same way, but it has a different name. And so we left our language so that it would ban bump stocks and every other future technology that functions the same way. We implemented red flag laws, extreme risk protection orders, so that if someone is a danger to themselves or others, then we can temporarily remove firearms from their possession. Red flag laws save lives. Safe storage saves lives. Too many of us know, we've heard these stories where children find firearms that belong to their parents and either shoot themselves or shoot other children. So we passed safe storage laws here to keep our children safe. And we also reduced the blood alcohol content level that can be present in your, it can be present while you're in possession of a firearm. Because prior to Assembly Bill 291, it used to be a 0.1 in Nevada. So you could be drunker than you were to drive, but you could still possess a firearm. And we know there's a relation between the two. So we brought that down. And outside of Assembly Bill 291, we also passed Senate Bill 143, which was the first bill the governor signed into law, which passed universal background checks to close the loophole on private sales.
Thank you.
You said after Parkland, it really changed things for you and made you able to come out about that. As parents, we're supposed to inspire our children. Would you say that was when you were inspired by children?
Absolutely. When I saw a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, I said there was visible wounds that people shared, but there was also those invisible wounds that, you know, that a lot of us had. And it's so hard to deal with, even as an adult, you know, it's so hard to deal with that. The fact that these students had to go through the same thing, and knowing that it's our responsibility to keep them safe and keep our community safe, and we could, you know, especially after something that happened, you know, there's 2 shootings right before them, and we couldn't do anything to keep them safe. And yet, instead of being paralyzed by fear, they took action. And that was one of the most inspiring things for me.
What do you need from federal lawmakers as someone in a state that is trying to, you know, pass more gun laws? What are you looking to some of the federal leadership to do to make your job easier?
I mean, we can pass laws at a state level, and I hope that Nevada, because if we can do it here in a Wild West state, you know, we can keep passing these laws at a state level, but we really need action at the federal level. I mean, we've banned bump stocks at the federal level, right? But why aren't we passing universal background checks when it's widely supported? Why aren't we, you know, banning assault weapons when 86% of the American people support it? Why aren't we passing the Keep America Safe Act? This legislation already exists. Why aren't we passing it?
Are there measures that you're looking for the next legislative session, excuse me, Nevada?
Yes, I don't think we can ever stop fighting until gun violence isn't an epidemic. We should never stop fighting. So we've already started discussions on what kind of policies we can introduce to in the next legislative session, and we're working with all of our gun safety coalition groups, and the Giffords organization is involved, and they were very instrumental in helping us pass Assembly Bill 291.
Specifically though, are you, what measures specifically?
So we haven't narrowed it down to specific policy measures yet. Our next legislative session isn't until 2021. We'll probably start with a big package like we did in 2019, and then just focus on our key policy priorities.
Can I also ask, what did you think when you heard about the California gun ban and the fact that he was able to circumvent those laws by coming to Nevada?
All the more reason why we need strong federal laws.
Assemblywoman, so far some of these presidential candidates have gone beyond background checks and proposed additional policies, whether it be some kind of assault weapons ban or national permit to purchase licensing. Do you potentially envision, you know, any of these policies perhaps you know, becoming BDRs and being debated next legislative session here in Nevada?
I think everything's up for discussion, because we really need to look at every policy and look at passing the policies that are going to make the most sense and create the most change.
Thank you.